sont dit partout.
What's going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. That's right, we're back and we're live, here to bring you an hour's worth of hopefully entertaining banter and just blindly, just raging out.
We always bring entertainment. It's their fault if they're not entertained.
I know, right? If it's not your cup of tea, then, get out.
If you don't like it, you get out.
Yeah. Anyways, yes, yes, we're back. You got me all messed up now. Thanks a lot, Robert. It's all your fault. Anyways, co-piloting this thing with me as ever is the homeboy Rob.
Yo.
Yeah, and so let's get this conversation started. So, Rob, what's new with you?
Oh man, let's see. What have I done since we last week? Not kind of business as usual. Because last bowling season I wasn't able to play as much because of it being the holiday season, which is just crazy time for me.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm back bowling, doing all that stuff. So starting to knock a little bit of the rust off. What else have I been doing? Just been watching. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I was talking about the this YouTube series on the Great War. So I've been watching.
Oh, that's right.
And watching that. Yeah, that's been really just a wealth of knowledge. So I've been kind of enjoying that. I started playing through Assassin's Creed Origins, which is set in the Ptolemaic Egyptian Empire. So it's the Greek Egyptian Empire. That's been pretty interesting so far. I will say the story or the graphics on the game are absolutely amazing, and seeing kind of how everything looked around that time is it's just amazing. And what's kind of cool is in previous Assassin's Creed titles, they would have like little side notes on like certain historical landmarks and like stuff that was going on through that time. In this game, however, they have a whole like separate segment called the Discovery Tour, and you're able to go through, without like any sort of fighting or anything. You go through and you tour all of like the areas in that part of Egypt, and they have like a guided tour, which is really, and you get like all the pictures and history and stuff on it. So it's that's been fun going through that. What else have I done? And I'm getting very, very close to a promotion at work. So that should be coming up within the next. So that's going to be coming up within the next couple of weeks. I was going to wait to share, but we're almost at the end of February, and so it's like, what the hell? It's already kind of gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty excited about that. It opens up a couple different avenues for me as far as the job goes, and things are going well, man. I'm pretty, and we have people dying outside, so I have sirens going on. So business as usual here in Van Nuys.
Right. Okay. For your promotion, is there like kind of a review process, or anything where you have to like sit across from a panel of people, or?
No, nothing like that. There will be some new responsibilities given to me, so I have to like learn. There's gonna be a few new things I'm gonna be learning.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll actually have more of a, because we have a couple of people retiring at the end of the month,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I'm getting promoted. And so I think I'll actually have like a set schedule, so I don't have to like worry like, oh, am I gonna be able to do it this time? Like I could say like, yeah, I definitely can go at this time. Like I know when and
Okay.
if I'm gonna.
So you wouldn't be called into work, randomly.
Right, yeah. Unless like there's some sort of like emergency, yeah. Like
Right.
I'll have kind of like a set schedule, which will, I think, help me out schedule things out a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely for the stuff for the podcast or just because one thing I'm trying to do this year is kind of schedule things out better so that way I have time to rest and then time to do some of the other things I want to do for the podcast or just life in general, and
Mm-hmm.
especially with my girlfriend coming out at some point in the next few months.
Mm-hmm.
That way, like I'm able to spend time with her and get
Right.
her acclimated to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it'll be kind of nice. One less obstacle that I have to worry about.
Cool. Awesome.
And I think
So is this your
it should
is
have a good pay raise too.
right? Would this be like, promotion to like supervisor position, or like a managing position?
Nothing like that. Like I'm still like I just like what I'll be is I'll be like a regular postal clerk. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean I'm still kind of like one of the young guys on the totem pole, but then I have like I said, I have more responsibilities. I have a set schedule. I have it's like comes with a pay raise, and there's just like I said, I can now apply for like if I wanted to transfer somewhere else, like if I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to move to the Carolinas or Texas or something like that, I could put in for a transfer
Mm-hmm.
and go to some place with a lower cost of living but keep my pay. I could apply for a few other different positions, like if I wanted to become a postal inspector,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or if I did want to, I could also apply for more of like a supervisory type of position. And I'm not sure if I necessarily want to do that because that comes with its own problems. To be honest,
Okay.
um, it's kind of like a worse version of like what I'm kind of doing now up at the kind of dealing with customers because a lot of times I'm like, you know what, I do kind of have the answer for this person, but they're kind of being an asshole, so I'm gonna let the supervisor deal with it. Like that's so. I'm like,
Oh, okay. Oh, because then
yeah,
you'd
I
be the
don't
one to have to deal with it. Okay.
exactly, yeah.
Okay. I see. Did you do anything during the weekend?
Um, Not too much. I mean, I worked most of the week. I didn't really have a weekend. I worked. But when I wasn't working, I was watching. Well, one thing I'm happy about now is my sports are coming back. Baseball's in spring training, and the NASCAR season has just started. They're a couple weeks into the season, so I was enjoying some of the races that were going on in Atlanta this weekend. So a lot of good racing.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I mean, even though we're experiencing some unusual weather, particularly with all the rain, it's we are getting closer to spring. So, yeah, like a lot of the spring sports are coming back. Uh, don't really follow sports, particularly baseball or NASCAR. Uh, but a little bit of news that I heard over dinner was that I think Long Beach is trying to lure the Angels over to them.
That would be interesting because they're not that far from Long Beach.
Right. I mean, like an hour or so.
Yeah, and I think the reason why that's happening is because I know there's been talks of the Angels. They want to go. They either want to build a new stadium in Anaheim,
Mm-hmm.
and so like because their lease is up. And now that's the that particular ballpark is like the fifth it's like the third, or I think it's like the third oldest ballpark in the majors because they've been there since 60. No, it's fourth oldest because they've been there since 65.
Mm-hmm.
And
Was that back when they were the California Angels?
yeah, that was because they came into existence. The Angels came into existence in 62, I believe, like one of the first like major expansions, like the first or second major expansion in the sport. And so they've been pretty much at that ballpark just a few years after they came into existence.
Mm-hmm.
And for a 50-year-old ballpark, it's pretty damn nice, actually.
Yeah,
But
I
I think
it's funny because I've never been to that stadium for a ball game, but I have been at that stadium.
yeah, it's actually a good place. It's a different atmosphere compared to Dodger Stadium. I don't know if you've been to Dodger Stadium for a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely different atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still like it's popping there. Like you have a lot of diehard Angels fans, but it's just I don't know how to explain it other than like taking you there and showing you. It's
Right.
completely different.
No. Yeah, a good friend of mine when he was attending UC Irvine, he became a Angels fan, and I mean to this day he is a ride or die Angels fan.
Well, that's awesome. But yeah, it's so that might be the reason why they're trying to get lured from other cities and maybe trying to, hey, we'll give you the ballpark and we'll because there's also they get money from the city too, based off of like because they it's probably about 10 years ago now. They changed themselves to the Los Angeles Angels.
Right.
Now they're and it was because having Los Angeles at the front of their name, they get more money from that than being the Anaheim Angels.
Right.
That was
Yeah, because they're tapping into the LA market, and so
exactly.
And so like they're able like, and then with that
be,
they're able to like maybe even like charge more for tickets or merchandise and so on and so forth.
Yep.
But
right. And
yeah, and I heard they want to build. I heard they want to build the new stadium in Long Beach, like kind of like near the water, almost like was it like the Giants Stadium up in San Francisco?
Yeah, I think that would be actually, to be honest, I would try to go to that because that might be pretty nice.
Right. Wait, what's the who owns the Giants stadium? I forget. It's not AT&T still, is it?
No, well, they're going to be switching the naming rights to that ballpark. It was AT&T Park.
Right.
But I think I forget who the company that is going to be sponsoring them. I think that's going to change either sometime this year or next year. I don't remember. And right now the ballpark for the Angels is just Angel Stadium. It's kind of their own thing. Same thing with like Dodger Stadium. It's
right. Yeah, it's still more or less owned by the team.
Yeah, in a sense.
Yeah. So there's like because no company is put up the dough to like take like kind of stewardship, I guess, of the stadium.
Right.
But yeah, that would be interesting, and if they did make the move to Long Beach and they did build a stadium like close to the water, that might be something to do. To at least say that you've done it.
Yeah. Something I am gonna have to do is have take you to watch a NASCAR race at some point.
Oh yeah, that's right. I have yet to I have yet to scratch that off my list of experiences.
It's
And
yeah, it's a lot of fun, man.
from your lips, Robert, from your lips. Anyways, I mean, okay. For me, not too much to report. Over the weekend, I did see How to Train Your Dragon, and I will say that being the third one wasn't as good as the first. But I think it was a good capper, a good way to close out the trilogy of How to Train Your Dragon movies. And yeah, it
Okay.
was So I recommend. I recommend. Then also my church, we have this like monthly dinner that we put on, and it was I guess this time around it was me and a bunch of other guys who were asked to put it on, and we did, and it was great. Kept it pretty, kept it simple, just catered. Even though I wouldn't have been opposed to cooking, but in terms of manpower, we were limited. So, catering was just the smart thing to do.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so got some stonefire, got some tri-tip, got some,
Oh yeah.
barbecue chicken, got some of them awesome breadsticks.
I had to say for what you pay for Stonefire, like they make a pretty damn good food. I had to admit.
Yeah, and actually, the way it all kind of worked out, it was like $8 to $12 a person.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and there was over 30 people there. So yeah. Although it was interesting because the group that we were kind of put together was called the Single Men's group. And one of my friends kind of remarked like, "Oh, I can't wait for when the single women turn comes around." and then, but I was like, but then he also then retorted, kind of answering his own questions, like, yeah, like that's ever gonna happen, like they're ever gonna they're ever gonna single out a group like the women for being single. It's one of those things you can only do to men.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm not a single lady. I'm an independent warrior.
Yeah, warrior hero. Oh God. Oh, I didn't know if we were gonna talk about this. But before we'll kind of we'll wait. We'll dip in our pinky toe in real quick on that. But just to finish off my weekend. My plans to go fishing next week were postponed because of the coming rains, and actually this is
yeah,
and actually this is the second time I had to postpone.
Second time, I remember that.
Yeah, because last time it rained also, and so it was raining, or like the ground would still have been wet when we went, so it wouldn't have been ideal. And so now, like, we were really, me, my dad, and my uncle, we were like really hoping that, we get lucky, and and we thought it was gonna look good because we had, we were having, nothing but sunshine for the last few days. But then all of a sudden we hear it's like, oh, a new storm's coming, coming through. We're like, crap. And luckily we were able to, just change the reservation for another week, and hopefully um, it'll be enough because if we cancel the reservation, then it costs like $68. We'll basically be losing $48. So we'll only be getting like less than 30% of what we put down.
Mm.
So yeah, that's my weekend, or just a little bit of an update on that. Well, I mean, okay, so now, like we said, we were kind of making fun of the whole. um, I don't know if I want to call it controversy, but maybe faux pas.
Okay.
That Brie Larson, the star of the upcoming Marvel movie Captain Marvel, has been making over and over again.
Well, so here's one thing is there was so was it probably a few years ago now you had what's her face the comedian that ended up taking off Netflix's star review because of her special Amy Schumer her special didn't get good reviews because it was terrible and she hasn't changed her act in 10 years. So she had
Right,
Netflix
just saying like, "Oh, I'm such a slut," or I'm such a slut," or "My vagina smells funny," and just like, you got anything else?
Well, no, because she hasn't worked on her act in 10 years.
No, of course not.
And the now you have Brie Larson, who has been personally, I think she's been overly political just to be an ass. Because she's
that's the sense that I'm getting too.
Yeah, like it seems like she's overreaching, and then because no one wants to listen to her dumbass, it's like, well, do we really want to go see the movie? And so there was Rotten Tomatoes, who, to be honest, I don't really listen to them that much anyways, but the fact that they're now changing their algorithm so to not give pre-negative reviews.
Right. I was just watching a video on that before we started, and apparently, they initially just put it out as a kind of like, to get like to kind of feel out the room, as it were, and they just were like, oh, who's interested in watching Captain Marvel, and I think it got hit like really hard. By with people saying that they didn't want to see it, and then all of a sudden, for some inexplicable reason, they remove the percentage, like the percentage things, or like the tomato meter or whatever, and then they also got rid of the like, no, I don't want to see it button, so you can only say that you want to see this movie.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
And it's just like, I mean, you just show that you're afraid. You just show that that you're a bunch of chicken shits, because that you can't even stand the criticism, or it's just like, or you can't even you can't even handle the fact that because of really really bad marketing in terms of cutting the trailer to be like this uh, you know feminist, oh, I'm better, I'm so much better than the boys and things like that kind of trailer, which which turned off like your core demographic, like the long term, like comic book fans who just wanted to see a good Marvel movie. And and at this point in the game, when you watch a Marvel film, you're pretty much guaranteed a solid outing. I mean, it's not gonna. It's not gonna be.
Them has been pretty good, decent.
Right. It might not be like stellar, but you're gonna be entertained. And but now it's just like the way that they're marketing it, and also like letting letting Brie Larson just like spout off whatever the hell she wants. With like I mean, not necessarily in doing like press junkets or anything, but like she's she's the face of your movie. Your big kind of tentpole kind of movie. Well, not really, because Infinity War, the Avengers movie is really the tentpole. But one of the tentpoles for your year, and you're letting her go out and say like, oh, I want, so I don't care what old white men, say about my movie because it's not made for them.
And well, she's not. She's even like barring like press people who are like covering the film, like, yeah, white men aren't really welcome.
Right, and then they immediately went into damage control, and then they started to try to spin it and say, it's like, oh no, we're not trying to take chairs away from the table, but we're trying to add chairs.
Horseshit.
I know, but you can't say like I don't want white men, I don't want white men, at my press junkets or whatever. And then say like, oh no, I'm not. That's not what I said. It's like, well, that's what you said. There's a difference between what you said and what you meant. If you said like, that I want more, I would like more, female or black or gay or whatever representation at my press junket. That'd be one thing. Then you're saying that I want more chairs brought to the table. When you say, yeah, I don't want white dudes, or I don't care what white dudes think about my movie, or I would like less white people at my press junkets, then you're saying that you don't, you're saying that you don't want white men there. You're openly being racist against a person on what is it? An arbitrary and inherent quality of a person. I mean, if she had said like, "Yeah, I really don't want that many black guys at my press junkets," then they would have crucified her.
Yeah, it's just yeah, it's you add any other like sort of race in front of that, it'd be mass hysteria. But with saying like, white men, I don't really want them there. Oh. What a hero! What a warrior! Oh gosh, and it's like
so brave, so stunning.
The sanctimonious attitude from
from
Hollywood is just crazy.
True.
Here's another side thing since we're kind of going down the route of Hollywood at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't watch the Oscars.
Who does?
Not really, but the last couple years, I have watched the Steven Crowder live stream of him making fun of the Oscars, which has been pretty entertaining.
Right.
And I was looking forward to doing that this year, but did you hear about how ABC flagged him with some sort of strike?
Yeah, because he was streaming the Oscars on his stream. And so they made this. They did a copyright strike against him, saying like, "Oh, he's using our stuff." But being as savvy as he is, he knows the law, and he wasn't. It wasn't as though he was taking the stream and then taking the stream of the Oscars and streaming it on his channel. He was providing commentary. He was doing parody. He was, basically, transforming, Disney's content because Disney is the parent company of, ABC, and so he was like, so he was basically taking Disney's content and transforming it, adding commentary, doing satire and all that other kind of, which does fall within the fair use umbrella. So correct, he's perfectly, so Steven Crowder was perfectly within his rights to do what he was doing. And the only reason Disney, slammed him is because he was getting more views than the actual award show.
Yeah, I know that. That's the only reason.
That's the only reason. Yeah, they can't.
Oh, man.
They can't tolerate competition. They have to squash it.
I haven't seen him that mad in a long time. It was hilarious.
Right. I mean, yeah, because I've seen him delirious doing that 16-hour live stream of CNN. Which,
oh God, yeah, I watched that too.
Yeah, and it was funny. It was hilarious because he had said that doing that was worse than when he, let himself get waterboarded.
It was funny because what was it? Andrew Clavin came on that stream. It's like I didn't think anyone would be that dumb to be live streaming for 16 hours of CNN. It's like, oh well.
Say you were wrong. Yeah. Yeah, I really wish. Yeah, I think he did try and put it back up. After I think maybe taking some stuff out, and I got the notification, but when I clicked on it, like it's like it went to like this video is not available because of Disney claimed this or that, and so.
Yeah, I think they ended up putting up on Facebook. By the time I figured out what was going on, it was too late, so right. I missed it. Right. C'est la vie. Next year.
I don't know. I mean, hopefully we'll be better prepared, but I can't wait for the day that big corporations come and attack us.
That'll be good. Yeah, I mean it'll be. That means that we're doing some damage.
Right. But then I can invoke my cripple privilege.
There you go.
I know. And then if they attack us, then all I have to say is, "How dare you attack a visible minority with a visible disability, you fascists!"
Well, you do have a white person on your crew. We don't like that.
Yeah, but I'm a visible minority with a visible disability. So I win.
This is true.
Yeah, so I win.
Gotta love that cripple privilege.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best. It really is.
Oh man. Why don't you tell us a little bit? Because I know you were wanting to talk a little bit about Bill Maher's crazy rant. I did not see this, so you're gonna have to lean into this, and I guess I'll comment at some point.
All right. So, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys saw it, but Bill Maher on his weekly show, what's it called again? I don't even really care, but what's it called? Yeah, I know. Like, I know what the name is, but for some reason I can't recall at this moment. But anyways, he does like this kind of monologue where he basically just like slams, Trump supporters or anyone who voted for Trump, but then also, people, people in the middle of the country, and so he pulls out the map of, of all like the blue areas and saying how like everyone in the red areas is just jealous that they don't live in the blue areas, and how and how they're just jealous because there's no and they he mentions like they make TV shows in like Miami or LA or New York, but there's no like Real Housewives of Toledo or or CSI some like middle America town. And he was like saying he was just being like an elitist asshole is what it was. And what was that? Right, nothing unusual there. But it was just like the condescension that the condescension What was that?
It's like, no, I can't say it. Thanks,
Yeah.
Andy.
The condescension in his voice was just so over the top, and it was just like, you're basically giving, Trump his win right now, with this, I mean, of course, not that I can imagine a lot of Trump supporters or, more conservative types, uh, really watching his show anymore. But I mean, this clip is gonna get out there, and they're gonna see this, and this is for sure gonna get Trump his next win, his next election to office.
Plus that, and like everything else that the Democrats and the left are doing. I mean, they're a complete crazy town.
Right, and I think it also hurts them because it's like for the more center left people, they're gonna see that.
Turned off too.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna see this, and it's like this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't what I thought. This isn't who I thought we were, and this is gonna push them more to the right. I mean, I'm not saying that they're gonna go full on like conservative or Republican, but they're gonna be pushed in the middle, but on more on the right side after this. So it's just
it may
basically
even push them to like vote for like someone like Howard Schultz.
That's true. Yeah, it might. I mean, as fractured as the party is now, this could be just another break within the party.
Yeah.
And so if this doesn't make people run over to the right, it's definitely going to get people to walk away from the left, even more so than than they already have with their cockamamie, Green New Deals, which makes an absurd, puts an absurd timeline on when this thing has to be implemented, or the killing of babies,
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's they the Democrats just maybe saw the writing on the wall. It's like, damn, we're done, and so they just what's the word I'm looking for? They pretty much got they pretty much got in bed with like the extreme left. And I will make a distinction that there are Democrats and then there are the left. Yeah, because those they basically saw that they're pretty much done for, and so they decided, all right, fine, we're if you don't want to stick it out with us, forget it. We'll just we'll just we'll just get in bed with these ninjas over here, and we'll show you. And yeah, I think that's the that's their new direction. That's and you see them embracing socialism and downright and exhibiting downright communist behaviors. But
then even you had I don't know if it was earlier in the week where AOC, she was I guess she's been getting pretty uppity because people are challenging her stupid ideas. And she's like, well, until someone comes with something better, like you just have to deal with it. I'm in charge now. It's like, and just deal with the fact that I'm in charge. It's like, no, you aren't. You got elected.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, yeah. And you didn't get elected president, you dumb bitch.
That's not how America works.
Well, obviously, she already demonstrated she doesn't know how American government works when she thought that the three branches were the Congress, the Senate, and the presidency. She already demonstrated she's an airhead.
I was listening to her bullshit, and I get so mad because first of all, like her age group and many people that are like her never took a civics class in their life, so they have no idea how the American government works.
No, and even
And
we're older. I mean, I hate to identify as such, but we're older millennials, and I think because of that, we still got the benefit of somewhat balanced education, and in my senior year I took a government class, and I learned about the branches and the checks and balances and the breaking of centralized power and all that stuff. So I know I mean I can't write like this grand essay about the government, but I know enough to know how things are run, or how they theoretically should be run. But this girl doesn't know any of it.
it's like, and I just listen to it, it's like, fuck you. You have no idea what you're talking about, for one. And number two, it's like, yeah, if you did know, you know that you have the power that you hold is because we have given you power, and we can take that away.
I know. Yeah, 4 months ago she was making Cosmos and vodka Red Bulls. All right, you don't know shit.
And something tells me she probably wasn't a very good bartender either.
No doubt. But yeah, so I mean, kind of tying it back to like this elitist, completely out of touch attitude. I mean, if I guess younger millennials had a poster child, it would be, ocasio-cortez.
I love that name. Yeah, I mean, she is the avatar for these.
Yeah,
dimwits.
she is. I mean, because that's why you have like kids nowadays screaming for socialism, and of course you have to give me free stuff. It's like, what? It's like, how about you get a job and you pay for it yourself? It's like, that's just
Yeah.
and then they just shout at you. It's like screaming, it's like, oh, that's patriarchy. It's like, yeah, it's awesome. It's what built your iPhone, you dumb cunt.
Yeah, it's like, and they there were some new projections, based off of her ideas for the Green New Deal, and it said it would cost us $93 trillion over the next 10 years, which would absolutely destroy us.
Yeah, which is basically like 300 times what our national debt is right now.
Right. Did you what they were talking to Ben Stein about this? And he says, like, yeah, she has no idea what she's talking about. Like, this would absolutely bankrupt the country to the point it would never recover. We would cease to be a country at that point.
Yeah, I mean, like, she basically wants us to tear down all infrastructure. She basically wants us to tear down all infrastructure to build it back up.
We would have the thing is, though, because there's so much of our we are economically, a lot of other countries run based off of like what our dollar is doing and what our economy is doing.
Mm-hmm.
If that was ever implemented in it would destroy our economy for sure.
Oh no,
that's going to cause a global depression on a grand scale, and the American experiment would be over.
It really would be. I mean, because I mean, if if other countries are basically doing like Vegas style bets on your country, then you can't fuck with the system.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, entire like countries like base their money or their like economic solvency based on our money and how much it's worth.
It's
and the idea that she's saying like we have to start over. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the arbitrary 12 years and the arbitrary. I point to you to Al Gore, right? And his stupid fucking movie, Inconvenient Truth. I point you to that. All of his models were wrong. All of his predictions were wrong. He said that Florida would be underwater by now.
I think still doing pretty well.
Yeah, there's still a bunch of fucking crazy people in Florida right now. And we're still and they're still around, and we're still around to hear about it. So yeah, I don't know I don't know what possesses them to come out like so confidently or so arrogantly to say like, oh yeah, for sure that the world's gonna end in 12 years if we don't do these things.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and I mean it's like they're already starting to turn on each other because did you hear I don't know if you've heard Senator Feinstein and how she was basically ambushed at her office like by a bunch of kids saying like, oh, you have to sign the Green New Deal because we're the ones who are going to suffer.
And I feel almost sorry for them because they know nothing, and they think that this is going to help them. But
right? and the mothers, it's like and there are like some mothers there too, and they're like trying to like pressure. As evil as we think and know some of the Democrats are, they're not stupid. They know that this Green New Deal ain't shit. And so you could see but you could see then like Dianne Feinstein kind of fencing with them and saying like and trying to back out of saying that she will get this done, just kind of putting it up like, oh, well, we got a bunch of people kind of, looking into her right now, just, she was tap dancing, essentially. She wouldn't take a stance on it, which made, the those mothers, like, press even harder on her.
I think if, there's some times where I kind of wish that there was a plague and it would take out a lot of people, mainly lefties, because they're too weak to support themselves. It's just these people are just I don't know if we've talked about it on the live stream, but all these people that talk about how humans are ruining the planet. It's like, okay, well if you you're saying that humans are ruining the planet, and you believe in that, kill yourself.
Yeah, yeah. That is, I think. I don't want to be too presumptuous, but at least on this show, the stance is if you believe that humans are a significant contributor to climate change or global warming or CO2 emissions, then you can go ahead and kill yourself. I mean, that's really the only solution that anyone of who is of that who proposes that that's the only solution for them. But if you say that humans are the reason why there's climate change or there's too much CO2 gas, then just go ahead and kill yourself, because that's literally the action you are proposing.
Other
like mass suicide or genocide. That's the only way. That's what you're proposing, is that the only way to stop it is for humanity to end.
Well, is it Matt Walsh calls them a doomsday cult.
Yeah, it is. Exactly, it is a doomsday cult.
The other thing too about this, and because they're saying this is our World War II. It's like, well, first of all, no.
Yeah,
but
no.
Well, let's say that that's true, right, Andy? And you look at who the biggest people that are creating these greenhouse gases. The two biggest countries, India and China. So if this is World War
because
II,
they're still going through their.
Then we need to go into those countries, level them, and start all.
There you go. Bob's your uncle. You've solved the problem.
If they really believe that, then let's do this. That's how we save the planet.
Yeah. So because that whole Paris climate accords, that was just basically a tax on us, for doing well. It wasn't putting.
We were the only country that was dealing with it.
Yeah, and it wasn't as though they're to curb the pollution or whatever in those developing countries to put sanctions on them. It's to put sanctions on us. It's like, well, how does that work? If we're the ones reducing our carbon footprint, if we're the ones who are planting more trees, then why are we being punished? Why is China and India going and ordering lobster and filet mignon, but then we have to pay for it?
Yeah, I'm tired of it, and I'll be honest, the whole, if they want to label me as a science denier or whatever, because I don't believe in the bullshit that's spouted about global warming, because I think a lot of it is horseshit that's based off of bad science, then so be it. But I don't believe in a lot of their bullshit.
Yeah, that's why when I go to restaurants, I ask for 10 straws.
Yeah, and I'm going to continue to do that. Because hey, that's the math that was done.
That was the math.
Use 12 straws a day.
Yeah, so exactly that. Because it's bad science and bad math, and anyone who
math done by a 9-year-old. That's what they're basing this all on.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it drives me so crazy. I go to restaurants now and I have to demand a straw.
It's
and everyone I know, every single person I have talked to hates paper straws. They hate them without exception.
Because they're terrible.
Exactly, because it disintegrates.
Here's the other thing too, is a lot of, they claim that, we have all these in the ocean, the roaming trash stuff. You know who that's coming from? That's not coming from us. That's coming from a lot of the countries from South America, Africa,
Southeast Asia. Yeah, we're the only country that has sense enough to bury their trash.
Yeah. If you look at Brazil is one of the worst. They dump everything in the water over there. Yeah,
in Rio, the bay there is just during the Olympics. That was one of the concerns that they could they wanted to do one of the swimming competitions in the bay. It was too polluted.
Yeah, they would have killed everybody.
Yeah, and then so them saying that we somehow have to do better. It's we're already doing better.
Listen, I'm not advocating that, because I'm all for recycling and not, dumping toxic waste into the water and all that good stuff. I think, I don't want anything like that. But it gets to the point where, you know what? It doesn't matter if the only way to end all this, supposed waste and stuff that they're saying is then humanity has to die off, and then you're no longer there. So who cares at that point? Who cares if the planet dies off? Yeah,
I mean, I've been saying it for years that the Earth is a self-correcting system. That's why you see burnt down sections of forest, come back, fuller and thicker than before, and
because that's a natural process. You know how it's been happening since before men were living in the forest, they would have forest fires, and then the forest would rebuild itself. It's a natural occurrence.
Right, exactly. So I constantly point out to people, hey, the Earth is a self-correcting system. It's gonna fix itself, with or without our participation. So I'm not saying that we should then go and dump industrial waste into our rivers and things like that. But I'm saying, once we're gone, it's gonna go back. It's gonna go back to even.
Here's the other thing,
and it's constant, and it's still and the process is still constantly working, and it's constantly getting back to even as we speak.
And then here's the other thing too that people don't think of. First of all, we've only been accurately calculating weather and weather patterns for. I'm gonna say it's probably less than this, but like I would say about 100 years as far as like temperature actually being accurately recorded.
Right.
So to think that like weather is always going to remain constant is foolish, for one.
Yeah, that's what's also the problem, because they conflate climate with weather. So they think like, oh, we're having unusually, unusual rainfall. Oh, that's climate change. Oh, we're having a unusually warm, unusually warm summer, climate change. It's like we have not been recording accurate temperature for that long.
Yeah. Well, and then here's number two. The other thing is that whether you believe that the world is 6,000 years old or 6 billion years old, the fact is that we're still coming off of what would be considered an ice age. That's slowly, and that's why the world, or the globe, is warming up, because we are coming off of the ice age that has
right. And there was that ice core, that tracked all the way back like thousands of years, and it was showing that the Earth was warming way before we started becoming industrialized.
Yeah, and that's why but the thing is, these people don't that are bitching the loudest don't want to actually do the research and look into these things. They just want to, because there's money to be made in it, and it's the same thing. That's why a lot of the the quote unquote scientists who are this is just scientific fact. It's okay, but yeah, because they're getting government funded contracts from doing research into this. That's why it's they don't want to. If they come up with results that don't match up with what these people want to see, that funding gets taken away.
Of course, yes. What was I going to say?
It's bullshit. And that's what so call me a science denier, if you will, but it all has to do with the left making money, and I guarantee that none of them actually give two fucks about the environment.
Of course not. Because if they did, because like celebrities are the worst hypocrites. Because especially like Leonardo DiCaprio, who says like, oh, we have to stop climate change and da da da, but then zips around on his private jet, expelling more greenhouse gases or whatever.
It's seriously. Why don't they just take a train?
Yeah, take a train. Yeah, why not take a train? What? Yeah, Leo, you too good to take a train. But also like the idea of consensus, like that whole thing's like 97% of all climate scientists, which basically that's a lie. That statistic was used by a cartoonist who does political cartoons with and he did that one with the polar bear. But consensus is nothing in science, because what we knew to be true 10 years ago is different from what we know to be true today. And so like so saying that 97% of anybody believes it, so that makes it true is bullshit. Because you could say like 97% of people think you're a dick, so that must make it true, right?
Yeah.
And actually, like, yeah, the supposed 97%, they come out with like their own documents saying like, oh, that's not true. But of course they don't. They don't get the airtime. So we have to do. So we have to do what we can with what the tiny platform that we have. But I think the takeaway from this is that leftists are dicks.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, I think I'm done talking about this. So let's just move on.
Onto another dagger to my heart.
I know, right? Yes. All right. So on to the last bit, the last segment for our show tonight, and that is the review of 500 Days of Summer. All right. For those of you who don't know, a quick little synopsis: 500 Days of Summer follows a man named Thomas who falls in love with this girl named Summer, and the movie is about their tumultuous relationship. And again, if you're not a fan of non-linear storytelling, then this isn't the movie for you. But they kind of jump around to different periods within their relationship to show to do a compare contrast sort of thing. And
kept switching back and forth between time.
Right. Again, non-linear storytelling. Because even in the beginning is actually the end. So there's a compare and contrast kind of element, and you see the kind of collapse of Thomas towards the end of the movie, but ultimately I think it was for the best for him in terms of growth, because Thomas was an aspiring architect who's working at a greeting cards company, kind of doing that thing that most people do when they get out of school and just take the first job that they're able to get to pay for pay to live and pay off student loans, and then they eventually just kind of get comfortable and just kind of languish at the first job that they were able to get out of school. And so I think that Thomas does go through significant growth, even though it happens towards the end and after his year with Summer, or kind of within the year that he is still associated with Summer.
It's like a year and a half, and it's like based off of the time frame, they probably dated for about a year, but like as far as their connection together, it was about 500 days.
Right. I mean, hence the title 500 Days of Summer, which definitely puts it over a year. And so, okay, so we'll start with you, Robert. Your thoughts?
Oh, God. I will say, like, this is one of those movies where I I love and hate it at the same time.
Right.
Because it's even to this day, because I watched this when it first came out, and this is about 10 years ago now.
Almost. Yeah.
And yeah, and it just, God, it just kicks me like right in the gut, just like it did back then. But at the same time, it's a good movie because it does create that feeling in me still, which I think is what was the point of the whole film. Because I don't know if the caption that starts off at the very beginning before the movie starts. I don't know if that was from the director or from the writer of whoever created that film. But like, yeah, you could tell like that was what he was trying to convey in the film. Is he was trying to work through his own crappy relationship that really hurt. And in one sense, like, going through it a second time and looking at it in a critical way, one thing that Summer always said, that she wasn't necessarily looking for something serious, and she said all these things, but the way that she acted and interacted with Tom conveyed something different. And I think Tom went into it thinking like, okay, yeah, we'll go into it and we'll see what happens, which is not necessarily what he wanted, but he really liked Summer. So he goes along with it, and they clearly, like, obviously him more so than Summer, clearly develop feelings for each other, where Summer even begins to start sharing intimate details about her life that you would think like, okay, now we've become something more than just friends, obviously. And you spend all that time together with somebody, and eventually you do get close to them. And the fact that I don't think Summer was very. The thing that sucks about her is because when it kind of, and in her mind it ended, but she kind of just was kind of brutal about it. And pretty much like immediately after the relationship ended, she quote unquote met somebody else, and then she's like, oh well, now I fell in love, which is kind of a to me it's kind of a, hey, a fuck you to Tom, who had put all this work into the relationship, and yet everything that he did is like, so obviously I wasn't good enough, but this Joe Schmo who just shows up out of the blue, all of a sudden he's the one that like you care about. And how much do you even know about this person? And I trust me, this movie bugs me. I hate it so much because I've gone through that very same thing, where you spend all this time with a person, and yeah, there's any relationship's going to have its rocky moments, but usually you think that you have stuff going on with like this particular person, and you think things are going well, and then they just, I don't know, it's bullshit. I hate it so much. I just, obviously, like, going through what I just went through with my ex-girlfriend, it just, yeah, it brought me right back to that. And the funny thing is, because I actually just watched this today, or because I was off today, so I watched this this morning, and lo and behold, right after I finished watching this film, guess who decides that they want to text me out of the blue? It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, just to dig the knife a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about 10 in the morning, and I was like, you know what? I need a beer. I ended up having a drink. I was like, this.
Yeah, I know, Robert. I know you've been hurt. I know you've been hurt.
The thing is, I'm in a good place now,
right.
and I feel like unlike Tom, I've never been the one that thinks that, oh, there's the one that you're meant to be with. I don't necessarily believe that. Because based off my faith, you read biblically, God has only chosen a bride or a spouse on a handful of occasions. I can think of only like 2 or 3 right off the top of my head that have been spouses chosen by God. The rest of the time, it's kind of more of left up to us because we do have free will. Now, when you look back and how the relationship developed, yeah, sure, God is definitely involved, but he's not forcing our hand and like, oh, well, so-and-so is supposed to be with this person, and if it doesn't happen, then it's not going to happen. I think that's so unlike Tom, I've never been that guy, and just so I do, like my situation I'm in now, like I do feel like God has kind of orchestrated things to put me in the relationship that I'm in now. But the past relationship, it was kind of the same thing where we were kind of going in the same direction, but we had very different ways of viewing the world, or like how we wanted to get to those destinations.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just kind of it's like, this is a good movie, but fuck this movie.
No, I get it. I totally get it because, well, I've never.
I hope no one ever has to go through this with someone.
Right. I guess I've never personally gone through anything quite like this. I will admit, mine is a little bit more on the unrequited side of love. Well, so I guess in that way, I can relate to Tom in that way, that because the feelings that that he had for Summer weren't reciprocated by Summer, so in that way I can relate, or I can empathize. But I mean, watching this again, I found myself not as sympathetic to Tom.
Tom was kind of a wimp, to be honest.
Right, and he just wasn't. He was so kind of entranced by like Summer's like physical charms that I think he just wasn't paying attention enough. Cause she basically spelled out everything that that she was about in the first like few interactions that they had. She said that she was bored, which she like when she's like when asked like, oh, well, what are you doing here? It's like, well, I got bored with the last place I was at, which kind of indicates like a flighty nature. And then
which I hate.
What was that?
No, I was saying it's like, yeah, I know that type of girl quite well.
Right. I mean, I think every guy can say that they've known a girl like that. But then, so she lets Tom knows exactly what she's about. She's kind of like this flighty kind of person, and she's not looking. And she says, "I'm not looking for anything serious. I just want casual." And she's not one who believes in love because of her own experiences of her parents' marriage dissolving, which then left a scar. But Tom was he was like one of those Captain Save-A-Hoes, and it's like, oh well, I'll be different. I'll be the one to change her mind, or I'll be the one that she falls in love with, because I love her so much that she'll feel it, and then she'll then reciprocate my love, which as anyone can tell you, that's rarely how it ends up shaking down.
No, See, that's where I do agree with you that she up front she was very like clear about like her intentions. Like
Mm-hmm.
obviously like she liked being around. Um, so there was that, and yeah, Tom is definitely a wimp.
Mm-hmm.
With his stupid sweater vest.
Did you wear sweater vest back in the day?
Like in 8th grade.
Okay.
And I did that like once.
Okay, all right.
Because I was a fan of Doug. That's why I wore a sweater vest back
okay.
then. But anyways,
right.
no, with the case of this, the reason why I have such a reaction to it is because as time goes on, okay, like I'm with this person like going a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and obviously yeah, there is a a physical relationship to um going on, but there is like more of an emotional connection going on between them, where the like I was saying, she was sharing more than like you would just share with a friend. As far as like there was an intimacy that was being developed between them that was not of Tom's doing. Summer was the one that was initiating that. And then to say like and then like towards the end of the relationship where she I think in a sense she became scared that she was getting closer to Tom and she didn't want that, so she she was like, oh well, Tom, I just told you I wanted to be friends. Like it's like screw you and we're just friends. Like we're not friends. Yeah, and Tom has that after he gets punched out at the bar. Where it's like it's like screw you and you're just friends. We're not just friends. And I've been there because the last relationship I was in, it was as things were we were progressing more and more towards where I think we both wanted to go. It's like, well, you're not we're not really dating. We're just friends. Like, and it's like screw you and you're just friends. We're not just friends. I would not do the things that I'm doing for just a friend. Sorry, like even like someone like you or Daniel, like if they ask if like maybe like once I would do that for you guys, but not like on a consistent basis. It's like, I'm not gonna
Bro, don't make it. Stop making it weird.
Yeah, but I'm just saying like. But you guys are my friends. Like I wouldn't do that stuff for you guys, and so it's I'm not just your friend.
Or with us.
Yeah, and it's like, and so that's why like I kind of feel that reaction towards this movie because she was, yes, well, she was clear about her feelings up front. Her actions and throughout the relationship changed. So it was, and so even though what she said she wanted, she wasn't doing those things. And I can see where someone like Tom started to see that and started to, kind of like, okay, well, it's no longer just, a casual thing. Obviously, like it's progressing to a different level. And, but then when Summer kind of shatters that whole thing, it's like, what? Why did I waste my time?
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I do agree with you in a way too, where yeah, Summer was upfront with her what she wanted, and Tom's kind of a wimp.
Right. And yeah, because that kind of weeniness that he had about him was, very off-putting, and I could then see why, Summer doesn't, kind of falls out of I don't know, affection that she was starting to have for him. Because he tried to initiate the conversation, and we all know what the conversation is, to define the relationship. And then she convinces him that why mess up a good thing, why do we need labels and things like that. And he just kind of cucks out. It's like, yeah, you're right, yeah, this is fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. But it's like, if you don't name the thing, you don't get to have it. I think it's
True.
It's one of those ancient kind of truths, that we all know, but for some reason, like there's it's kind of like this postmodern take on relationship. It's like, oh well, why do we have to have labels, and why do we have to define things? Why can't we just why can't it be what it is? It's like, well, we don't even know what it is because we're not naming it, we're not labeling it.
It's a rudderless ship. It has no direction.
Well, yeah,
So you're
well,
just
like
kind
the
of
thing,
going-
how can you say a thing isn't a thing unless you know what it is? I mean, if it's kind of like trying to kind of like kind of like in a more humorous way, it's kind of like the Miss Swan bit, where it's like, it looked like a man. It's like, well, okay, but you need to give me more specifics. But was that okay? It's like, yeah, but he looked like a man. It's like that's not being helpful. That's not being specific. That's not that's not nailing it down. And
it's the it's for in a relationship wise, it's the spiritual, not religious type of relationship where it's like you haven't defined anything. You've said all these things, but really said nothing.
Precisely. And so you know so yeah, if you can't call it a relationship, then you don't have a relationship.
Right.
And I think that's something that even though this movie was made so many years ago, I think it's still relevant to today's time, where people are saying like, oh, let's keep it loose, let's keep it casual, let's not get messy and define these. But that's ultimately where you're supposed to be going toward. That's what like this dating or this courtship, these courtship rituals are supposed to lead to, is to get to the mess.
Yeah, like initially, like let's say in a relationship, if it's like, hey, I'm not sure where this is gonna go, but let's keep talking, let's hang out, let's see if it does go in a direction, and we'll revisit the idea in a few months after we've kind of gotten to know each other if we really want to be together. I think that's fine. But like where Summer wanted to be in this perpetual state of just I mean, you look at her apartment too, like all her stuff is still packed. I mean,
right, there were still boxes and yeah, there were still boxes, and there were no pictures of family or loved ones. Really, I mean, there were few trinkets and like artifacts from her youth or whatever, like kind of like the origami swans, which they show like in when those old 8mm type videos of her or footage of her making. So you can obviously kind of link those. Oh, that this is something from her childhood that she really loves. But yeah, there's no pictures. There's no life. There are things, but there are no like people. And
right.
And so yeah, but again, there is some hope because Tom eventually finds his balls, and he does what every man has to do, and go out and make things happen for himself. And I think that's when things turn around for him, is when he quits his job, because he realizes that he's just there because of comfort, or maybe even like some like morbid sense that like this like the only way to still be kind of connected with Summer. But he then quits in spectacular fashion, and kind of in a Jordan Peterson-esque fashion. He cleans his room.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and better still, he in his room he has this giant wall that's like kind of like a chalkboard, and he starts drawing. He starts because he's an architect, so he starts drawing like this cityscape. And I think it's more it's more important than just as a signifier of his change, but he's like literally mapping out like what he wants for his life, or or at least the things that he wants to get done in his life. And and again, something that every guy, every man should do, is
Definitely.
set goals, even write them down, or in Tom's case, he literally draws himself a map.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts going for it. He starts improving. He starts reading books. There's a kind of like a scene. There's a kind of like a quick little montage of him, reading architecture books, and then getting his portfolio together, and then going off to interviews and things like that. Which that does tie in back to my theory about why this is a more hopeful movie than say Eternal Sunshine. It's because he starts making things happen for himself, and spoilers. At the end of the film, he goes to his job interview, and then waiting in the lobby is a very attractive woman, and they begin to talk, and they see that they have all these they have these things in common, because they're both applying for the same position at the same firm. But then also the girl recognizes him because she had seen him at a park that he says is one of his favorite spots in the city. And so like they have like this kind of little kind of like they have this good repertoire, or what's that word? Not repertoire. Rapport building.
Repartee.
They just they're starting having like this really good rapport, and then Tom is called into his interview, but before he does, he makes one last effort and asks this girl out. And she at first she's not sure about it, and just as he's about to walk into his interview, she calls out to him, like, yeah, sure. And supposedly that's the start of potentially his next relationship. And the reason, and that little scene is what makes me believe that this is more hopeful than Eternal Sunshine, at least in terms of the love story aspect, is because I'm more hopeful that this relationship with this new girl is going to work out for him, is because she chooses him right away, as opposed to Summer, who he reluctantly is outed to Summer through another coworker. And it's not until like the next day or a couple of days after that she kind of makes this move on him.
Right.
And so, yeah. So meaning like she wasn't too sure whether or not she wanted to, and so it's not until like the next day or a couple of days later that Summer decides, okay, let's give it a shot, as opposed to this new girl who who chooses him right away. And I think that small difference is what makes this movie more of a, or have more of a hopeful ending than Eternal Sunshine.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. This is, well, I didn't think Eternal Sunshine was as hopeless as I initially thought when I first watched it.
Right. I mean, and even though like I don't think it was that hopeful, I would agree that it's more hopeful than what I remember.
Right, but as we discussed in previous episode, but this one definitely is the hopeful movie of this whole month that we've watched, because it does end on a good note.
Right.
Tom's kind of fixed his, turned his life around. I mean, it took Summer to burn his life to the ground, but then he didn't just wallow there. He kind of cleaned his room and started from scratch.
Right. Well, yeah, and like and what made me not be so hopeful about Eternal Sunshine is like they instead of embracing the pain, they they went and just had it like kind of like a cleaning service and just had it like wiped from their memories, as opposed to working through that pain, working through that grief, and and bettering themselves. Bettering themselves, like how Tom does, like having to work on that pain daily, and then and using that kind of pain and anguish to improve himself, so that the next person he's with, he'll be a better man.
Right.
Yeah, as opposed to in Eternal Sunshine, where they're given all at the end they're given all the documents, saying like what they didn't like about the other person and things like that. So it's like
all the work was done for them.
Right. So they're given all the answers, and so they don't really have to work for it necessarily.
Yeah. So what would you say as a unless you have any more thoughts, what are your ratings for this movie, and of the movies we've watched this month, which one do you like the best?
Okay. As for the rating, I think I'd give this movie a 3.5.
I'm sorry. Do you have any? I interrupted you. What were you gonna say?
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, I think that this movie is, out of the movies that we watched this month, was definitely more hopeful. And I think it's a better message. I mean, definitely more than American Beauty or Wild Things.
God, American Beauty, that was a really depressing movie.
Yeah, that was, man. That's the one that you need to drink after.
I will say that they're going through this month. I definitely changed my opinion on some of the films that we've watched throughout the month. So
what would you say was the biggest change in opinion? Which movie was the biggest change?
I like American Beauty a lot less than when I first watched it. Like a lot less. Like I actually don't think it's a very good movie.
Agreed.
The movie that really surprised me was Wild Things, and how just it was a lot more of an exciting film than I remembered. Just with like
again, I
like
agree.
you said, so that was like the biggest shock to me. It's like, damn, this is a really good movie, you know, because obviously like back when it first came out, we were excited for that.
For other reasons. Let's just say other reasons.
For other reasons. But now actually watching it with the critical eye and being much older, it's like, fuck, this is a good movie.
Right, yeah.
Outside of like them kind of ruining a little, you know, kind of taking us behind the curtain and showing at the end of the film everything that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
That was, to me, that was the only knock on the film. Like, had they not done that, it would have been, I would have given it a higher rating.
Yeah, I completely understand that.
And Eternal Sunshine was not. I found it a little bit more optimistic than you did, but as we've talked about today, 500 Days of Summer is definitely much more hopeful, and I think a better message than Eternal Sunshine.
Okay. All right. What's your rating?
First, my rating for this one, I'm gonna give it 4 stars actually, just because I think it does invoke kind of like it kind of gives you the message of what it's going for, of like what it's trying to convey, and then it goes out and actually does it. As far as you definitely feel, it says that it, you know, right from the beginning, it says this is not a love story. This is and it's more of kind of I don't know if it was the director or the writer that was working through something, but they definitely worked through it, I think, by doing this film. It definitely, even 10 years from when it first came out, it definitely invokes that the same response that I had back then. And well, I'm definitely not as depressed after watching it, but man, it does bring back you know, it made me remember like, oh man, all those like really terrible relationship feelings that I hope no one you know, from our audience or you or anyone else has to go through, because it's not fun.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it also does show you is like, yeah, it's kind of one, like I said, the one thing that changed about me is like, yeah, Tom is definitely kind of a wimp.
Yeah, definitely a wiener.
Well, I mean, he listens to the Smiths, for God's sakes.
Yeah,
that is definitely
people who listen to Smith are like the proto emos.
Yeah, I think that like there's a couple songs from the Smiths that are like, yeah, you know, that's all right. They're all right, but God, it's the Smiths. Ugh, God. Well, and Summer likes Ringo Starr, which is another. I agree with Tom. What the hell is your problem?
Yeah. Like nobody likes Ringo. It was hilarious because she was saying like, oh, that's why I love him, because nobody else does. It's like, that's not a good enough reason.
Listen, I'm a contrarian as much as anyone, but I'm sorry, Ringo Starr is no. He's definitely not like the best Beatle by.
No.
Anyways, but yeah, so I'm gonna give it 4 stars because I think the movie kind of it sets out to it establishes what it meant to establish, and I think the acting was really good.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. I give it a 3.5. Robert gives it a 4. You know, go check it out for yourselves. See where you land on the issue, or land on our see how you stack up against some of our reasonings and analysis of this movie. Leave in the comments.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about your shitty relationships in the past, then go and do that too. I'd like. You know.
Right. Robert needs to be. He needs his spirits lifted. So don't. the only way that's possible is if you tell them about your shitty relationships.
Well, I mean, I'm in a good one. I'm definitely not as depressed as I was when I first
Well, I mean,
watched it.
yeah, I'm just talking about in the moment because, like, we just we kind of ripping open some wounds for you tonight. So yeah, do Rob a solid and leave him a message talking about your worst relationship.
Yeah, and if you have seen all the movies that we talked about this month and you haven't shared your thoughts yet, go ahead and share them in the comments. We'd like to hear what you think.
Word. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for us tonight. Next month. I don't know if we decided on what theme we're gonna do, or we're just gonna do some random ones.
Well, there's a couple of themes I had in mind, mainly with the whole, quote unquote John Wayne controversy. I kind of want to, stick my middle finger out and watch some John Wayne films.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I heard a little bit about it. Not sure exactly what the hubbub is about, but
it's a nothing burger, like they all are.
Of course. Okay. So don't invest too much.
Yeah, but no. So I was thinking we could either do that, or we could do a dystopian film month.
I thought we already did that.
We haven't.
Are you sure?
We were talking. We were going to talk about it, and we never did it because January was supposed to be that, but then you decided we didn't want to do film reviews for January, so we put it off.
We want to do what for January?
You said that you didn't want to do. We were supposed to do that for January, but you decided you didn't want to do film reviews for January, so we put it off.
Oh, that's right. That is correct. Okay. Well, we'll have a discussion, and we'll have a discussion, and then we'll decide what to
do. We'll put it on the table. We'll have a discussion and see whether
we'll make it comfortable. We'll make it comfortable, and then we're gonna go in another room and have a discussion.
God, don't get me on another rant, Andy.
I know. I'm trying to stop myself because I feel the same way as you do. Anyways, that'll do it for us tonight. Don't forget to come back next week. Well, we will be streaming again live. For your enjoyment. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows we have. The Circle of Jerks podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions,
New episode just came out.
Huh?
New episode just came out for the podcast.
Oh yeah, that's right. A new episode dropped this week. Check it out. This it has one of our boys, John Choi. He shares his story of or his mental health journey. It's a good one. Go check it out. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter @PodcastCOJ and Instagram @Circle of Jerks Podcast. All right, that'll do it for tonight. For Robert and myself, we say good night and don't do anything I would.
That doesn't leave a lot to do.